just
That's
call
what
it
makes it better.
Grits are
Tasty.
amazing.
grits,
Who does
cheese grits.
Cheese grits.
Oh, gosh,
Should have a
man.
great
Sugar and butter?
No, yeah.
Wait, that's all grits are? What are grits?
I've never looked at corn.
That's good.
Good, if you got good grits, it's good, yeah.
Let's wrap this up and go eat.
You need some education, brother, you,
Grits can be good.
After.
grits, collards,
We're ready.
Oh,
We're
we're
on the
ready?
fire
Okay.
department here, we might eat.
Let's
black
get
eyed
through
pea,
this.
oh, man.
Let's get through
Beans and
this,
rice.
sorry.
Oh,
Okay.
Just
Okay.
Whip some up.
sausage and the red beans.
Oh, this is
Okay.
your turn.
We're gonna stop talking about grits
We need real
and
food.
talk about, fun stuff, like the West Bench, Okay, so I just wanted to go through we had, Nathan and I and Wendy, were you with us, Wendy? Met with, the assistant mayor, what is?
associate
Associate
deputy.
Jeff-
Associate deputy.
There she is, Lisa. And Helen and Jake came out and met with us. They're trying to get some feedback on their West General Plan from the municipalities and so they want our feedback by tomorrow before they were to go to go present this to the county council. So I just wanted, rather than, I don't wanna just give my feedback, I wanted to get council's feedback on this. I don't wanna go through this much, honestly, we don't need to spend a lot of time in this. Just their key, points here, water conservation, future development more around center-based, proper infrastructure to support future growth. They're really big on that, infrastructure first, preceding the growth. East-west roads, Ogre connection, not necessarily relevant yet, but planning Butterfield Canyon.
Over to Tooele, is that what
Yep.
we're talking about?
Yep, not relevant, but planning Butterfield Canyon is important. And discussion of roads, Southwest Transportation Study and Wasatch Front Regional Council's, regional transportation plan. So this is just where they, their process, similar to what we're going through, general plans, then set the path all the way to zoning and site plans. These are the three areas they've divided up into. The shoreline heritage, which doesn't apply much to us, that's a lot of shorebird area, preservation area around Great Salt Lake. North and central Oakers, Kearns, Magna area, down into West Jordan a little bit, and then down to the southwest Oakers and Traverse Mountains area.
It's been kind of a shifting wind, it seems like, that for a while they decide that they don't want to do any development at the county level. They wanna direct it out to the cities and then they'll take it back for a while and then they'll drift it back for a while. Do you know what kind of the temperament is at this point?
Yes, very much, Olympia, I think, was an eye-opener for the county. Very much knowing that they're gonna push any development into annexation.
Okay.
So I don't think they anticipate, and that's why they're reaching out so much to the communities to understand, because they're required to do this just like we are.
Yeah.
They have the land, they're required to do a general plan just like we are. So that's why they're going through this, but they're not wanting to, they recognize that with Olympia, what it did, created some divisiveness between us and the county, and so, especially because they approved above and beyond their general plan.
That was the big issue.
So, and that got brought up, and they recognized that was honestly, they didn't come out right and say it was a mistake, but they basically said lesson learned on that as well. So I was real impressed with their communication with us and what they have planned out here. So that's just their timeline. They're trying to get it, passed by this winter, and that's why they're coming to us right now to start their process. So this is the plan. Mainly, I think we want to get to, they talk about their surveys, their engagement. I wanted to really just get to the map. Like we talk, it always ends up back at the map. So this is, existing land ownership. You'll see Rio Tinto by far is the green one, that's the big one. We got Salt Lake in the yellow, and some other,
Pink are the private ones up
Yep.
there, yeah.
yeah, private, miscellaneous. You'll see the dark green one up there, that's another big one, that's the duck clubs. I was surprised by that. The duck clubs, it's a private part, a PPP that just,
Chases people.
Yeah.
yeah. So Chase belongs to one of those duck clubs. Somebody just quiet.
It's awesome, I hear it all the time.
And then the future land uses. So this is kind of where we wanted to get to a little bit. Mainly, you can see a lot of MPCs, they're master plan communities. They're calling for that north of, probably just focus, they're wanting to just know what our thoughts are west of us mainly, kind of south and west of us. You can see they've got the master plan community primarily, and then the mining area that they don't plan on touching. They did mention a lot of this is, most of this plan is, on the Rio Tinto property is post-closure, which is at least 10 years. I think we learned from the Rio Tinto, they're at least 10 years. They're always planning 10 years out, but then they're not, but that's even, they're not planning right now to necessarily close in 10 years, but they kind of always have that out there. So most of this is out there 10 years on Rio Tinto property.
Has to do with their permitting from the state. They can only get a 10-year permit.
Right. And that's in the hashed area. So everything not in the hashed area. So that master plan community, basically the key area we've always talked about between north of Olympia and up to, South Jordan border up there, but really primarily that 118th, they're listing as master plan community, which is pretty vague, but they're thinking of that 3 to 5 unit per
Yeah,
acre range is what
The
they're.
problem I have with that is that they're saying the entire West Bench is gonna be master planned residential communities. They don't understand the need for the job centers and the employment centers on the west side as a solution for traffic, air quality, pollution, like all the stuff that are the other goals of the county and the state are not achieved by just having 3 to 5 unit residential master plan communities all over the place.
Wait.
There's not any large commercial zones or job center zones or Silicon Slopes areas or anything like that planned on the West Bench over here, and that's concerning with this plan.
So I don't understand, because the little hash marks going through it make it look like it's the limited development thing at the top, but what is all the hash things going through everything?
It
That's
is limited
mine.
development because you can't develop
Post
on.
mine.
So
So
that,
the only piece that's the development piece is that little tiny piece between South Jordan and Harriman,
Currently,
right? Everything else looks like it's all limited. Now, if you'll look at what we had intended that to be, is that big purple thing up there, that we needed some industrial stuff, we needed some jobs and
Innovation.
creation,
Yeah,
it's an
exactly.
innovation district. Hey, snuck in. So I mean, that does nothing to fit what we had tried to plan for that area for
Right.
us to bring in jobs and employment centers and things like that.
obviously this is a master plan overlay, but with their current appetite to push annexation, that would rely upon the cities to come up with their master plan and input their zoning and their ideas.
Okay, but if that's the case, shouldn't they be at least considering or trying to come up with a plan that's largely harmonious with what
so
the cities have been planning for?
Yeah.
I think the reality is South Jordan's been planning this to the master, or the Larry Miller group. Who has an options, the county's just doing what they want. I think that's kind of
Right.
what's happening is the same group that developed Daybreak. Larry H. Miller Group has hired that same planner to plan all this. Really does not like a renovation district. We messed up his vision by putting that there, and so really
Double down on
what you're gonna see is them wanting to bring Daybreak back into that area.
Yeah.
And actually, I think hitting what you just said, it's gonna be this master plan community with cool little shops that people can go and do, but not true employment centers. Or industrial, it'll all be, Soda Roll, I guess.
centers.
But that seems like they have plenty of MPC zones, most of them are in the hash marks for their plan, and then the mine buffer, mountain communities, what's MM?
I mean, what's their commercial zone for the west side?
There's no commercial.
I don't see any.
There's one commercial,
That's what-
West
that-
Jordan.
That
They
one
have
little
that on
thing?
the east
Yeah.
side, that way we can never split the county out.
But are we gonna, we have the whole rail system there, they have so many amenities already built into the mine center, are they just gonna abandon?
And what about the access it has to the, what's the, my gosh, what are they, the port, the inland port?
Inland port,
What
right.
about straight shot UN-11, what at
Yeah.
inland port, why doesn't that make this a great industrial kind
Yeah,
of
light
innovation
industrial, yeah.
district?
The master plan for
Warehouses,
community doesn't
distribution
exclude
centers, right, all that
commercial
kind of stuff.
uses. It allows you to create an agreement to put those uses in certain places, like Lake Olympia has a commercial area, so keep that in mind. They're keeping it open-ended, so it really gives a lot of flexibility to the landowner to put the uses in that put the city where they want, I think. But it does imply
I
a
do
lot of
understand,
residential.
right, that's the issue that I have, is there's not a consideration for employment center needs on the west side. They're looking at making the entire west bench the housing stock for everybody else's employment, and
Insane.
everybody else's commercial, and everybody else's Silicon
No
Slopes.
transportation to support.
Right, there, it's just, yeah, there's no rail lines out here, there's no bus lines out here,
East,
there's
west,
no,
nothing.
there's nothing.
What was their proposal for east-west? Do they have an idea? Do they have it on their plan?
No, the county really is just looking at
What's that?
this
What's left?
as
No,
from a
no.
land use.
They're saying, don't worry about it, nobody will go east-west, they'll all go north-south, U-111 will take care of all of it.
They did acknowledge in the beginning of this presentation, east-west transportation.
Yeah, and that's why I
And
wondered if they had
And
an
I get
idea.
it, but the point is, we can take the burden off of east-west transportation by creating employment centers on the west.
And
Right.
balanced land use and property taxes, which helps schools and law enforcement, emergency services, but no one cares about any of that, they just
They wanna
they wanna
do
do.
34 plus.
So my feedback to the county would be, this isn't,
This is not
this isn't
balanced
a
plan.
general plan, this is not a, this doesn't,
There's no balance at
Yeah.
all. Where
if they have that much land use left, they should be considering, like we do in our city, some of it has to be residential, some of it has to be commercial, some of it has to be high density residential, some of it needs to be, and, you know, calling it master plan community, saying, well, that allows for all of that. No, that implies largely residential communities with small commercial elements to them. And that doesn't provide the tax base for everybody, that doesn't provide employment centers, it doesn't provide services for these communities. I mean, all these people that live out here are gonna have to travel east into all the other communities just to get, you know, tires, to see an attorney, to go to a dentist, to do whatever. They all have to go east-west to do that. And if we can bring some people to the west, we improve everything. And if they're asking for how that affects our community, we already have the longest commute times of any community in the Salt Lake Valley.
Not to mention we pay the most for transportation per household.
Right. Because of that.
And
And
they
so-
don't plan on any parks or recreation either.
Right. Well, they do, I mean, the yellowish area, I guess what they call that, recreation, conservation, right? Which is cool, I mean, it's all canyons and trails and stuff like that, so it kind of makes sense, but the broad application of just master plan community for everything
Everyone
is,
has to leave to do everything, you leave to go to school, you leave to go to work, you leave to do sports, you leave to do dance, I mean, whatever it is, you have to drive out of the community.
it's the major disconnect they have with understanding what we need as a community. And that's my objection to the whole thing. And I think, you know, if you're West Jordan or South Jordan, it may not be as important to you because you have commercial things on, you know, the district is towards the west, right? You have things out there, but even still, you should be having commercial developments inside of all of these things that aren't just,
Yeah.
you know, the town baker and flower store, you know, you
Like
need.
the Amazon warehouse they have out there, that's a great,
massive, yeah.
Yeah.
but it's a great place for that kind of thing, again, right up when UN-11, it's gonna straight shot inland port. Why are we looking, let's go ahead and say, you know, where's the big super sites out here, be putting some out here, why are we just trying to eat it all up with housing?
And I think this speaks to our need to work with our partners to really, I mean, the county's putting this together, but there's a need to, you know, we gotta
We've,
work with Rio Tinto.
yeah, we've dealt
Yeah.
with that, the way the county does that already.
Well, when we went on that field trip was there? So we, remember the field trip, what did they need? They needed the big space that had all this stuff ready to go, right? And there are a lot of companies ready to come into communities, but it's like, why aren't we looking at that? Why aren't we considering that? Why are we just saying, no, we have to do housing? I don't know, doesn't make a lot of sense to me.
And I know that doesn't usually make them happy to hear that. But a good plan should consider all of those other things too, right? When we have a general plan, we have to consider even different commercial uses within our city, C1, C2, mixed use, right? I mean, we're trying to accommodate for all of that stuff.
But I don't understand why it wouldn't make them happy. I don't understand that either. It's like, why would that? I just don't understand why there's such an intense focus on housing rather than
Cause
stepping back.
they want the entitlement, that's all. And the flexibility to do whatever they want with it for decades to come, that's all this is about.
It's just unfortunate because it's not really comprehensive planning.
Never is.
I think a lot of this goes back to what we've talked about. We've gotta start selling our story out here and the need for this kind of stuff. We've gotta find a way to get this PR campaign going and then work with our partners, cause not that we can change this necessarily, this is probably, like Candace put it with 151 freight train coming down, probably. But, I mean, this is the feedback we can give them, but chances are, like we've said, it's kind of the feedback they probably got from Rio Tinto and Daybreak and South Jordan.
They haven't taken 4 years to do their master plan either.
But Rio Tinto doesn't want a master plan community right up against the mine there. They don't want residential up there. They've said,
What
they've said that.
do they want?
They,
The
I-
entitlement, that they can do whatever they want with for the next couple decades.
Yeah, it depends on who you talk to there too. Some of that has changed, so that would be interesting to go through those relationships. I'm excited about those changes.
Well, we've got a meeting with Larry H. Miller Company coming up March.
Yeah, it's first part of March. When we met with Rio Tinto, one of the members expressed concern about what's happening close to U-111 because of an impact to their mine and their mining operations. But that group is new. I think they were new about the same time I got here. There was another group there before that may
Right.
have had, when this was going, hey, this is what we wanna do, but my understanding is they may have encumbered that land to a developer
Right?
to
Yeah.
design it, so they may be one of these things, hey, we're not sure we like it, but we're already done, this group. I don't know what happened to that group, maybe they pushed too far that direction.
Well, I remember that when things were happening, and there was all this discussion about doing, these master developments and things like that. Head people from out of this country came in and said, no, we are a mining industry, we need to focus on mining, we need to protect this barrier between us, this buffer zone, and focus on mining. And then everything kind of backpedaled for a while. But then, I don't know, but then I think other land developers that we know about continued that squeaky wheel back into that group.
Well,
Let
and
us do this,
to
let
be
us do
fair,
this.
I mean, I don't think we put it all on the landowners either. I mean, the county has been full steam ahead with this push
Yeah, for sure.
to develop and collect fees. They wanna get, and that's what Olympia Hills was about. They want those entitlements just as much so that they can have a little more control, because with the way everything's going in all the non-cities becoming cities, like they're
All the
Incorporating
unincorporated.
cities, yeah.
incorporating part. There's a couple of those dynamics at work, and the way for us to influence it is to work with our partners. Like we've said this before, that we can have as many meetings as we want and talk to everyone, but it's kind of like speaking into the wind, right? We need to work with the Southwest and with GoEd and EDC and all those others that know we need more balance out here. If we can, at least to me, that's our only chance of really having any real impact. Because we've experienced this once already.
I just think it just lays, the way that it's drawn right now, it just lays the map for us to just have no commercial. It'll just never happen. There's no plan for it, there's no support for it. County isn't interested in it. And unless we can get their buy-in as well, what's the point? I mean, you put a nice little, whatever commercial, let's put a little red circle down there in that bottom corner. And then all of a sudden, on the county's plan, like, wow, they're putting all this commercial down here. That's a great place for it. Hey, let's move some stuff down there. Then you get the governor's office involved, you get, state money, you get state efforts to build out a super site, to get manufacturing, to get industrial things, to get warehousing, to get employment centers. That's what we really need out here.
Yeah,
Good paying wages.
I just really honestly don't think, I think that freight train that was talked about, that freight train is here with the east-west connection, and all we do is just continue to build further, like more and more
west.
houses. And it's just like, it's killing people, you know what I mean, and the problem is there weren't corridors preserved, there wasn't anything planned for. And so even if they say, yeah, we're gonna start addressing it, it's like, the transportation costs, the money that's gonna be needed to fix the problem is astronomical.
Well, it'll
And
never
and not only that, but it's not just, they have to look at it as a whole state. UDOT doesn't just go, oh, well, geez, just the west side of Salt Lake County needs this. They have to look at the needs throughout the whole state. So you get bumped so far down the line, it's not gonna happen, and so we're just gonna keep building houses and have no way to get anywhere.
Okay, so if I understand, this is what I'll go back with, that we would like to see job centers, commercial areas, particularly along 111, and I'm just gonna send him our map. I'll find that, and I'll
Wait.
just send him.
Start with balanced land use, right?
Yeah.
There needs to be some balanced land use, and here's all things, because I think that's what's getting lost in all this, there's no balance in it. In respect to any of those things.
If you look at the industrial, the only industrial park is up there where they have the smelter.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Really didn't include, or where there's actual mining operations, they're not looking at other industrial.
Yeah.
Or,
Like great job centers, you know?
I mean, that's a perfect place for industrial right on I-80 there,
It is.
201.
Yeah, anywhere along the UN 11, I believe, because if they're gonna come through and they're gonna improve that, it's just right up into the inland port. It just is a great corridor. It doesn't, you don't have to fight with any of the traffic on I-15, any of that. It's just straight shot.
And frankly, let's be clear, in the county's media presentation on their website, in their publications to the state, to everyone, all the interested parties, they sold Olympia Hills as a key housing component of the expansion of Silicon Slopes. I mean, that was in their materials. What, you're just gonna keep building in Lehigh, and then all those people are gonna live out here? That's not
With no
balanced
real
land use,
way
right?
to-
Yeah,
to
with no
get
way to
from
get
point A
there
to
from
B.
here, right?
That's how it worked in
Limits.
California.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
Okay, so balanced land use and with more east-west connectivity.
It's like, wow, deja vu.
Yeah.
Twilight Zone.
Okay, and we'll reach out, there might be,
Groundhog Day.
there might be opportunities to speak to the council. I would, kind of like what we did with,
can you advance this slide? Does this presentation have the annexation?
Oh, yes,
I was just
I've
gonna
done
talk
that,
about that.
Cause this is an interesting map to me. So ours is the yellow, and you see, and then you've got South Jordan's is the green.
The light green.
The light green that's the half the side across, and then they picked up that light green as something they added after the fact. They weren't going to annex that. Now they've added that. I don't know when they added it.
Oh, now that's the South Jordan thing?
Yeah, the green area, South
That's
Jordan
our-
said,
that's
yeah,
our
we'll
purple
we'll
area.
add that.
Yes, correct.
We are now willing to annex, and I don't know if that's just part of this, but I think that's all that Larry Miller conversation and the whole Daybreak expanding. But I think when you look at this, I have no idea why Harriman ever would have gone up all that far north.
To Copperton.
It doesn't make a whole lot of sense from a,
I would agree.
just from a, I don't, it feels more like an ego, and we're gonna be the biggest kind of conversation as opposed to, and I would argue the same with South Jordan, them going all that and coming down, that's an ego trip as opposed to what makes the most sense from a utility, from a smart and appropriate growth,
There-
public safety, all that, none of
There's
that.
nothing
makes
about
sense.
that line that suggests that blob should be in South Jordan. I mean, that just seems silly, right? And that line that has Olympia Hills in there should be taken out. Right? That's Harriman City now.
Yeah, I think
Right.
this is an old, so that's Harriman, but if
They
you
have
go
that
up,
little carve out there, right? That should be taken out. And then that blob looks even weirder.
Well, and as you get up there, you know, do we really, are we serious about going that far north? I don't know that we would
No.
ever go.
I don't think our intent was ever to go farther than
118th.
But let's put ourselves in South Jordan City. If South Jordan's having a council meeting and they have the same presentation and it shows us wanting to creep around them, maybe a lot of their recent moves are because maybe they're feeling like we're trying to come
Well,
around the
this is a
backside of them and
10-year-old
there's
map,
no.
right?
And plus,
I don't know when this came.
We don't know, I just think we need to ask them to remove, Nathan and I our thoughts were,
Yeah.
we need to ask them to remove our annexation north of 118th.
Yeah, but look at our general plan, we've never indicated an
Yeah,
intent to annex.
And we don't know
any-
where they got that, right, and that's what I'm saying,
That's what I was wondering, if it was,
Yeah,
I think we
Never come
submitted
up.
it to somebody as our potential annexation area. But we really, realistically, I don't know that we would want it. And frankly, if that Rio Tinto property is all housing, we may not want it anyways, right?
Right.
Just simply because the
Amen.
cost of providing to
Cost.
residential, it's probably a loser for us.
yeah.
Yep.
Yeah.
Now, if our goal is to be one of the biggest cities, then we should fight for it. Right? And I think that's where this annexation map came from.
I don't think we wanna do it, I think we just wanna have
clear boundaries.
a balanced city, right? And it's,
All with you.
we're out of balance, right? We're very heavy on housing, extremely heavy on housing. And we're doing our best to scramble to backfill with commercial to provide services and a tax base for the community.
And I look at, I mean, we're not the only, Magna. Magna's the blue crosshatch that's coming from your left to your right, coming down. And you see what they've,
Go all the way down to
Magna's
West
gonna,
Jordan.
Magna's going to be giant.
No, she might.
I don't know what happened, why all these cities did this, in other areas, when we looked at what we're gonna annex, we seriously have to look at it and say, do we even wanna go there?
Well,
She may be.
Completely agree.
So
But
copper.
the South Jordan isn't just, South Jordan is all of that green area and the blob.
Yep.
Does that make sense? So all of the horizontal green lines,
It's South Jordan.
that's, South Jordan says they'll annex
Look at
all
their
of that too.
language though. Can you read that?
New
Now,
willing.
new willing to annex, but supports self-determination.
I don't know if it went
Yeah, that's interesting. They just don't support self-determination for the blob.
Yeah.
Yes,
in
Wow.
2011, our annexation declaration did show that Harriman City did intend to annex further than 118 South.
How far north though?
that
I
whole
think
area.
that map right there, I
To
think we were
114?
going,
Might go a little bit further, but
I don't know
It
if you
is
can
just-
see this.
Yeah,
The
Sideways?
so here's 118. And it
and then up
did
around,
come
Does
that's
it
what it's
look
showing
like,
then.
is that just the map or does it continue? Is that a is there another part to the map?
No,
That's
I
exactly
think
what they
that's
make
what
it.
we've got right there.
That's exactly
I think that's.
It is
Yeah,
exactly
that's
what
how
it
that
is.
yeah.
And it was when
So-
118th didn't go all the way
Again, that
to
may be something
111 at that time.
How can
council
we,
wants to
yeah,
talk about again. I don't know who we
That's
submit
11,
that to.
2011.
that's what I'm saying, now how do we go readdress that again?
I think
'Cause
we
we
just-
need to.
Re-look at it.
So Copperton is currently discussing their annexation area, in fact, they had a meeting, I think, on February 15th
Yeah.
to
They're trying
expand
to expand.
their area.
Well, that makes sense,
That's gonna be Copperton.
Yeah,
Right.
good for them. Yeah, they could use some extra housing and something out there, you know?
Jeez.
That little town's so cool though.
I don't know, I personally don't think Harriman should be
Best
farther
part
than
is the state.
118th, it seems like it's a good natural boundary.
And I think it was because, so when this was done, 118th didn't go out that far,
Yeah.
Yeah.
so.
That's true, it wasn't as easy to define that border. Okay, well, let's
118th
let's cross that
ended
bridge
it.
down the road, but I will feedback, I will have to.
Yeah, it's always gone
It's always
Not
gone
that
that
far.
far.
It's kind of.
118th's always gone to you.
Yeah.
I think they
Not
just,
that far.
I don't know what it was, but you look at it now and you think, it doesn't make a whole lot of sense. If there's some
I agree.
process, we should bring it back and have that conversation, but just from a management of a city and trying to do it, that would be weird, it would look, just because of the topography and all that, I don't know if that's a great annexation.
I agree 100%.
We need
I
to
just
say
think 118th should be top of our expense.
Do we take it to the county on the west side,
We
county
want
line?
everything west of
'Cause then it'd just be-
111.
I mean,
We want it.
Recreational area, it's an open pit right now, but
I think this stuff in the south, unless we ever want High Country 1 and 2, but that makes sense. If they were going to come into a city, they would come into Harriman.
Yeah, High Country.
But as you get up to where South Jordan's there, I mean, the reality is South Jordan stretching across might make sense. You know, they just become long and thin, or West Jordan probably wants to come across. They don't have, West Jordan has a very small annexation area, that's just that little tab.
North of them, yeah.
They just want that, they're not interested in going to the mountain, because I think they're looking at the resources to service that, it's just a pain.
So the slats are all South Jordan.
The slats are South Jordan. And then West Valley Cities, that other one that's coming down, they and Magna want the same property.
But see, it makes more sense for it to be West Valley, it just feels like it's continuous, you know, rather than this big jog, but I don't know.
Yeah.
Yeah, it doesn't. It's an interesting map, so
Yeah,
that's just something we can
Yeah.
talk about.
I personally think it would be better adjusted to nothing north of 118.
Cities should always be separated down the middle of a very long road.
Exactly.
For
County,
public safety.
it's county
Well,
road.
it's the color is your garbage can.
Yeah, maybe Harriman and Riverton should be, like Harriman and Riverton should be separated by Mountain View.
That's right.
No,
Well,
But we don't want some of the stuff.
I know, but still, it's just like stupid as boundaries.
It is a
Robertson's
strange.
proposal does
Yeah,
have-
High Bangor works.
Copperton doesn't,
Good
that's
idea.
great. Okay,
Wow.
okay. Any other comments? I don't wanna belabor this too much. I know where we're all going. I think we all know I think we're all on the same page with this stuff. I think that was it. We won't get into that. Oh, they did talk a little bit about transportation, but there's nothing
Yeah,
significant out here still. They've got that nice purple line that's gonna be a
Phase-
future highway.
Phase 3.
2050.
There will be another freeway out along,
What's that song?
Does it say 2040 to 2050? I don't even see that happening either, it's only 20 years
If
from
you
now.
keep living the way you
19.
live.
Which one?
I'll be
How are they gonna fund that?
Phase 2?
Phase 3, does it say 2040 to
2040 to
2050?
2050, yeah.
It'll be 2050-ish,
toward the end of
Right.
2050, yeah.
towards the end of.
They'll redo this plan 3 or 4 times before then.
Yeah. Okay. Public transportation, which we know.
We'll have flying cars with this, we will
Yeah.
need.
Is that
Oh, good for you.
Active or trails, which.
We can all ride
Wendy's
our
been working
bikes
with them on that.
to downtown.
Okay, that's all we really.
You can.
They're gonna, that's what they wanna do with the, connectivity of the trails through all of the county.
The commute will
Have
just
fun
be a
this
little
morning.
bit longer than
Yeah,
this.
Okay.
right?
Well, that's all I had. I think that's the feedback I needed to give to the counties.
22-mile trail ride.
Okay, with that, I will
Electric.
take a motion to move into closed.
I think I have this down now. Motion to temporarily recess the city council meeting to convene in closed session for the purpose to discuss pending or reasonable imminent litigation as provided by Utah Code annotated section 52-4-205.
Motion by Steve, second by Sherry. Roll call or just? Roll call. Gary?
Yeah.
Teddy?
Yes.
Sherry? Steve?
Yes.
Okay, well, yes. Okay, we'll move into closed session. Thank you, everybody. Staff,
fun.
thank you. Tammy, have a good
Have
time.
fun, Teddy.
Don't stress work.
Enjoy.
So
Available.
You need to take your phone off.